So how do you flow through life then? What's the simplest way to flow through life? Well, let's say for argument's sake they turn around and say water always finds the easiest route. What does that mean? The water flows through and it goes round rocks and it finds the easiest route. It doesn't spend so much time trying to smash the route down the rocks down. No, it just finds the easiest route, and the volume of water depends if it flows over an obstacle or goes around the obstacle. It depends how powerful and fast it is. And it can be very destructive as well, because if you hold up water by an obstacle, you're going to get a bigger flow of water coming down. So that air as well, like when the wind blows as fast as it can, and it enjoys itself going over the hills, and through the valleys, and then you put a couple houses up, and then suddenly you're separating the wind. So where the wind was working wonderfully and happy, you then divide the wind around, and then the wind hits itself, and then it starts to become destructive. So two things there already. You see a physical thing being placed in a position where something can either work for you or work against you. So if one puts a physical thing in a position and it becomes destructive, it's not going to work for long. So it's like I sometimes see it where you have floodplains and people build houses there, and then the water's diverted further downstream. So people who don't have any issues with flooding suddenly have issues with flooding. All you've done is you just push the flow of the volume of water down further, and then it's caused problems there. So let's look at your body. Let's see what they mean about flowing. So if water can flow and there's no blockage in, and the air can flow and there's no blockage in, that means the light can flow. And what that means is that your electrical vibration will vibrate to the level that it should. So that's like saying about a flickering candle. A flickering candle is kind of like getting puff, 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 puff with the fuel. And that's a little bit like us. Because the candle can't keep burning, and it keeps losing and then burning again, losing and then burning again. And the candle is the information inside of you. So that, when you process light through your eyes, is how your body approaches the light and how it works stuff out. Now, if you've got enough light inside of you, you might be able to flow to a certain level. But remember, the water and the air, and then you've got the earth element. So let's break it down then. So you've got the earth element. Now the earth is physically hard to walk up, and the earth corrodes, and it's full of matter. So as soon as the earth corrodes, obviously that you've just put an earth thing in front of water, and then the water flows around it, and then it pushes the earth off. So if there's no alignment with any of this, you're going to have hardship. And why would you think for 1 second that your body is any different? So let's, for example, your breath work. Yeah, so if you're shallow breathing, you've got something physical. Something's rebelling the lungs to fill up, and you haven't pushed the lungs out. So then it becomes destructive, because that means the body has shut down areas where the oxygen is not getting. So what is it not doing? It is not flowing. It's not flowing. And if we are in prana, which we are, which is energy, yeah, when you take that deep breath in, you are going to push your lungs out and you're going to create energy inside of you. Then your body needs water. Well, water is emotional. It's an emotional thing. It's emotional. So if you have hang-ups or any emotion inside of your body, depending on if it was 10 years ago or now, you're going to fix it and hold it into your body. And your body is like a computer system. It's upgrading all the time. Or if you haven't learned new things in the last 5 years, you can only respond from the last 5 years ago. So if you're not deprogramming yourself and reprogramming yourself and finding programs that don't serve you and get rid of them because they do not serve you, and that's the light. So the information is the light for your programming. But you've also got emotional attachment to stuff. And if your body physically is under stress, it's because you haven't gone back to where it needs to flow. The water you've diverted it somewhere else. So, how do you flow? How do you flow? Well, the best way to look at it is stretch. Do some stretching. Stretch your body out. And if you can imagine, right, I walk into a dark room and there's loads of different alleyways or corridors, and each one has a door, but I got this picture on the wall and I want to be able to see it. So I open up one of the doors or one of the windows. I open it up and I can see a little bit of the picture, but I can't see the whole picture. I can only see that bit. So then I have to walk up the stairs and I have to go and open another one. I see another part of the picture. Then I have to walk back down the stairs, all the way down to the cellar, and I have to start opening up another window, to see the picture. Do you get that? So, he tells you, you are your temple, right? So if you're a temple, you should be working your body and open up different doors which are closed inside of your body to let the light in. You have to open up each door. Now, stretching, rather than seeing it as a physical thing, why don't you see it as light? So light energy. Because if your spine works like we know it works, as a spinal cord, it's electrically charged. So when I reach down and I grab my toe, is that pain of a physicalness or is that pain of light? You tell me. You tell me. You know? So what you have to do in life is to flow. So if I reach down and grab hold of my toes and pull my toes towards me and it hurts in the back of my legs, what is that? It's light. It's light. I'm opening up another window, another door to see the picture. So the other analogy is now I'm stretching and I'm letting my energy flow. There's going to be other blockages, okay? And blockages, they could be in your kidneys, they could be in your liver, okay? So emotions that you've maintained and held in for so long, you now then have to open them up. What you think that you've been holding emotion for so long, you reckon you'll be able to open it up and there'll be nothing coming out? Of course they will. As soon as you open up them, you're going to have a flow of emotion because you've finally opened them up. And that is the flow of water. So you have a flow of oxygen going through your body. You do your breath work. You create energy. You push your tummy out as far as you can and you fill it up. And then you exhale as much as you can. Okay, so now, like the wind, it's destructive if there's things in the way of it, in the wrong position. If you're shallow breathing, you are constructing it. You are stopping it from breathing fully. So that means you're going to be we'd say if you're 100% when you got here, now you're at 75% because you haven't got the intake. It's almost like having a turbo on your car, or the air taken, and you've got one half of it not working. So it's the other half is working as hard as it can, but eventually it'll give up. And then now you're stretching out. You're starting to create light source, and energy needs to go around the body. So now you have to put a flow. Water. What does water do? Not only is emotional, it then, if you put electric into water, what does it do? It's a great conductor. So the more water you've got and the more stretching you've got, the more electric you have inside of you. So what's the best electric to get? Magnetism. It is where you got the fruit from the tree. Magnetism is the key. Right, so now you've upgraded to fruit. So now you've got your air, because you're breathing, you're stretching, so you're relieving the energy paths, the light paths as I like to call them, and you're opening up all these different windows and doors, and this picture becoming more and more obvious. And now you're getting your food. So the physical, but the soul and the spirit is all coming in line. You put yourself on this journey. You did. Okay? It's your journey home. It's so simple. You don't even need to write a book about it. You work exactly like the 4 elements you see here. Your air intake, the water you breathe, the light within. Remember? The air, the mental side of yourself. The fire, the spirit of yourself. The water, the emotion of yourself. What are you holding? Let it go. Flow round it. But you've got to stretch and you've got to breathe. Now the matter, the body. Let me tell you something. I know a little story which doesn't take long to explain. Just give me a second and I'll explain it. So a daughter rings up her dad and says, I need to meet you. I'm feeling lost and disconnected with myself. She's 40 years old and her dad's 70. So the dad says, do you want to meet me where we used to walk around in the forest? Meet me there at 12 o'clock. And she went, okay. So she gets there. It's on the hilltop. She parks up, sees him up the hilltop, sitting down. 12 o'clock. She starts walking up to him. As she gets there, the dad stands up and goes, let's go for the walk that we used to do when you were a child. And she said, that'd be great, Dad. I got a lot of stuff going on. She goes, and he said, I'll listen. So they started walking around, and she was just glad to see her dad. And as she started to walk around, the dad placed his arms on her shoulder and hugged her in. So then she started to explain about what life's been doing to her and how she feels like she's been a victim in this world. Nothing's new under the sun. Nothing is. And the dad knows that. The dad knows, because he's gone through it himself. Anyway, he was an ear, and she was explaining about, life. He's been pushing and pulling her around. And then he listened. And before you knew it, they'd already done a half an hour walk and gone back to the start again. So the dad said, right, do you want to go again? And she said, yeah. So she hadn't started, right, so just quickly, she hadn't started to cry yet. But you can see the analogy already. The dad is the father, and the child is turned up to the father at Earth, which is the real mother. And she's emotionally venting. So she's breathing out with air, because that's the only way you can talk. And she's feeling it with her emotion, with the water. But she's in the elements of the forest. So she's going there for a rest, but she's meeting the father to do it. Child, mother, father. Anyway, they get back to the start. for the second round. And he goes, let's go for another one. And she said, I'd love that. Dad, I've been rushing around my life so fast, I forgot what I was like in my past life. You know, when I was a child, growing up. Could you tell me just a little bit about me? Because I feel like I'm someone else. All these different masks I've had to put on in different situations, I forgot which one I play. And her dad said, do you know what? I'll tell you. You were pure at heart. You had pure intent. You were a lovely child. I used to take you on these walks, and energy. You had so much energy. You used to run around after the butterflies. You used to have time to look at the caterpillars. You used to look at the bunnies. You had so much more time in your life where you would just be. And she goes, and he said, and I was going through a stage of my life where I was lost. And it was you who found me. Because when I watched a pure little soul be happy with just being, and just being in the woodlands and running around, it stopped me from worrying about what I need to get you. And it made me come down to your level. You were kind, sweet, generous, everything. And you're my best thing has ever happened to me. So they got to the start again, and the daughter started to cry because she felt like she could remember what she was like. So from his voice, of his breath, he then turned around and says to her, let's go for another loop, but this time let's not talk. Let's just observe. They walked round and they observed everything. As you can imagine, they saw everything. Every different colour, every different vibration, everything. Animals, under the trees, over the roots. It was perfect. And he was still holding her, still cuddling her while he was walking. He gets to the start and he sat down with her and she sat down. And he kept his arms around her and he gave her a kiss on the head. And he said to her, do you know what? There's something that's followed you from the start. Something which has never left you. From the moment you were born to the moment you will die. And she was thinking, well, what was he going to say here? But she was so intrigued with him. As soon as he spoke, she just looked at him. And he said, it's your shadow. She went, oh right, what do you mean? Well, the moment you were born into a physical being, your shadow was here. You're supposed to leave a mark on this world. Sometimes your shadow was in front when the sun was shining, sometimes at the side, and sometimes it's behind. So in life it's the same thing. Sometimes you're in front, sometimes you're just right, sometimes you're behind. But when you watch the shadow with me, with my arm over you, you will see we become one as a shadow. And then as we go under the trees, we become one again. Because the tree, and me and you, are just a shadow. No shadow on this world will overcome another shadow. So whatever one says to you, or anyone upsets you, your shadow will be with you from the moment you were born to when you die. It's been with you through thick and thin. It remembers your childhood. Because it was you. So Dad, that's a great way of saying something to me. That makes me think that if nothing can overcome anything, I shouldn't worry so much. No. If you have a paper and it's got horrible words on it, put it under the shadow, it disappears. It's only because your eyes, with the light source inside of you, and your emotion, you can take effect. But the shadow, it doesn't. It flows round everything. So you can imagine how that meant for her. And then just a quick sum up. We've created our shadow because we had our wings clipped And the reason why we had our wings clipped, we're like little fairies now. We're tiny little fairies, what was here before. And it's because we need to be little light people. Yeah? So we're out seeking out what the bad is, and we're putting it into our eyes, and we're sending it back. We're a sender, we're a receiver, and we're going around. And when the sun rays hits you and it illuminates you and you get tanned, you then go into the woods and you radiate. You radiate. It's not just the sun which creates life. You create life. You walk into the woods. You create human beings. Right? They are the reflection of the light. They're the reflection of the whole thing. Don't think yourself so tiny. If you think yourself so tiny, why is the biggest thing you see in the world, you can walk right under it and you become one. But the difference is, you can control your hands and thoughts. Our job on this world is to bring peace here and harmony. But you won't get that if you're still hung up. You got to stretch your body out, breathe, and have the right food. You will vibrate, but it's not an easy path. But flow. And remember, if anything upsets you, flow it. Any emotion which has been holding on to you, you've got to go round it. And when it comes to you and you want to get rid of it, take it on. Take it on. Okay? Let the emotion out. The anger, the hurt, the pain, let it out. Because then you're relieving yourself. And you relieve yourself, you're going to believe in yourself. And now you've got a value. You are an incredible being. You have been specifically, uniquely designed to be you, not anyone else. No more idling. Stretch. Love you. Take care and flow. Love you. Love, live, empathize.